Hey everyone, and welcome. So, we live in a world that is just flooded with environmental claims, right? It's everywhere. And that brings up a huge question. If your brand is genuinely trying to do good, how do you actually build trust? Well, today we're diving into the playbook for telling a more honest, transparent, and frankly, a more powerful sustainability story that actually connects with people. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the problem head on, what we're calling the greenwashing trust crisis. Then we'll get into the good stuff, the solutions. We'll talk about why stories beat statistics. We'll open up the transparency toolkit. We'll look at why you need to showcase your people. And finally, we'll put it all together with a practical blueprint. All right, let's get right into it. The core problem. Because you can't really fix something until you understand what's broken, right? We need to know why simply slapping a green label on something just doesn't work anymore. And it all really boils down to this question. Think about it. Consumers today are smarter and more conscientious than they've ever been. They want to support brands doing the right thing, but they're also just bombarded with so many claims that they've become really skeptical. And for good reason. And here is the number one culprit: greenwashing. This stuff creates so much noise and confusion that it just muddies the waters for everyone. And you know who it hurts the most? The companies that are actually doing real, meaningful work. In this kind of environment, your genuine efforts can get lost in the shuffle, dismissed as just another empty promise. So, if all those vague claims and dry statistics aren't cutting through the noise, what does? Well, the answer is in a pretty big shift in approach, from just throwing data at people to telling them a really compelling story. Now, this slide is so important. It breaks down the two ways we process information. When you just show raw data, like we saved X tons of CO2, you're talking to the logical brain. And yeah, it's factual, but it's not very engaging, is it? A story, though, a story connects with the feeling brain. It gives you the why and the who behind the numbers, turning something abstract into a real human connection. So here's the bottom line. A fake claim always feels hollow. You can just tell. But a true story, one that's full of honest details, that builds a bond that is just incredibly hard to fake and even harder to break. This is where the genuinely good brands have a massive, massive advantage. All right, so if an authentic story is our goal, how do we prove it's the real deal? How do you back it up? Well, that brings us to our next tool, something called radical transparency. And this is a huge mindset shift. It's not about crafting some perfect, polished message anymore. It's about cracking open your process and letting people see it all. Being willing to share your challenges, your setbacks, right alongside your wins. You know, that shows incredible confidence. And more than anything, it shows you're telling the truth. And you can see how some of the leading brands are already doing this. Take Allbirds. They put a carbon footprint number right on their products, basically treating it like a calorie count. It's simple, it's honest. Or look at Patagonia's Footprint Chronicles, where you can go online and trace a product all the way back through its supply chain. They aren't just telling you they're sustainable, they're showing you the receipts. And the result of all this honesty? Absolutely fierce customer loyalty. Okay, so data builds credibility. We get that. But what about that real lasting connection, the thing that turns customers into advocates? Well, it always comes down to people. I mean, it's a simple truth, right? We're wired to connect with other people, not with corporate logos or abstract mission statements. So when you focus your story on the individuals who are making change happen, the farmer in the field, the engineer in the lab, the employee out in the community, you make your brand's mission feel personal, genuine, and just real. Just think about the power of hearing something like this. When an employee shares their perspective, it totally transforms sustainability from some corporate initiative into a personal mission. The effort feels so much more authentic because you can actually see the faces and hear the voices of the people doing the work. Okay, so you've got your data to prove your claims, and you've got your human stories to make people care. So how do you combine them into a campaign that actually, works? This slide gives us a super clear, actionable blueprint. And look, it all starts with step one: be authentic. The real work has to come first, period. The best stories are true stories. Then you have to be smart about it, know your audience, pick the right channel for your story. And finally, you've got to measure what you're doing to see if it's actually connecting with people. So as we start to wrap this up, it's really important to get this one fundamental shift. The brands that are going to win in the future, well, they aren't necessarily going to be the ones that shout the loudest or throw the most money at ads. No, the winners are going to be the brands that are the most honest, the most creative, and the most human. Success is going to come from building a real connection, one that's based on being transparent and telling an authentic story that truly resonates with people. So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. Whether you're part of a massive corporation or a tiny startup, I guarantee there are powerful, true stories inside your organization just waiting to be told. The challenge, and really the opportunity, is to find them and then have the courage to share them.